Basically, today we will start with introduction, growth and development of dentition and occlusion, and also classification of malocclusion in relation to orthodontics. Anywhere you have any doubts, you can let me know accordingly. As all you know, the term orthodontics was coined by Lee Fallon. Orthodontics and cusp of Carabelli is by Carabelli, and Norman Kingsley is father of orthodontics, whereas father of modern orthodontics is Edward Hartley Angley. So term orthodontics was coined by Lee Fallon. He is a Frenchman and he coined it in 1839. Who among the following is named as the pioneer in the treatment of cleft palate and related problems? Kingsley, Angle, Graeber and Nance. Nance is credited with space maintainers, whereas Graeber, is written many of the orthodontic textbooks, whereas Edward Angle is father of modern orthodontics. Norman Kingsley is the pioneer who is credited with work in relation to cleft palate. Kingsley was the first also to use the extraoral force, that is the orthopedic force was first used by Kingsley, and he is also pioneer in treating problems related to the cleft lip and palate. Around 1880 he developed the extraoral anchorage and he used the headgears initially for anchorage. The first orthodontic appliance devised by Angle devised all of these, but among these which was the first orthodontic appliance? Angle devised edgewise, pin and tube, E-arch and also ribbon arch. That is, E-arch is the expansion arch, and this was the first appliance which Edward Hartley Angle has given. Later after this he has given the pin and tube and then ribbon arch and finally the edgewise. Now edgewise is modified, and latest what we currently use is the straight wire or PEA is a modification of the edgewise. So the first orthodontic appliance among the following four which Angle has given is the E-arch or the expansion arch. E-arch was first introduced by Angle, and the first orthodontic appliance initially made by Bandelete, it is called as Bandelete, which is used to expand the dental arch, which was given by the father of dentistry, that is Perry Foucault, and this was later Angle had contributed to your edgewise, ribbon arch and other appliances. Ribbon arch appliance is nothing but it is later modified to form the peg appliance. Initially it was a ribbon arch appliance where the slot is vertical, whereas in case of edgewise appliance the slot is horizontal. In edgewise or PEA the slot is horizontal, whereas in a ribbon wise or beg it is a vertical slot, the bracket slot. So Angle is the first person to recognize orthodontics as a separate speciality, and it is the first speciality in dentistry. Among all the specialities, the first recognized speciality in dentistry is orthodontics. In 1887, Angle was attributed to the classification of malocclusion, which is universally accepted, and it has got four classes. One is the normal occlusion, then comes your class 1, class 2 and class 3. In 1990, Angle started his first school of orthodontics in St. Louis, in Connecticut, and he organized the first orthodontic society, that is the American Society of Orthodontists. Later it is called as AAO, that is American Association of Orthodontists, and he was the first president of AAO. Now, who is the founder of functional regulator? Functional regulator is nothing but FR. FR is credited to Rolf Frankel. So Frankel is the person who has advocated functional regulator, where he believes that there will be a passive expansion along with stepwise increment in the advancement. That is, whenever you advance the mandible, according to Frankel, you have to advance only by a tune of 2 to 3 millimeters, not more than that. Whereas if you use a twin block, they advance by around 6 to 7 millimeters. he has advised stepwise advancement, and he was the pioneer in applying the philosophy of functional regulator in functional jaw orthopedics. In Frankel, there are different types, 5 types: FR1, FR2, FR3, FR4 and FR5 used for different purposes. In FR1, again there are 3 types, 1A, 1B and 1C, depending on the overjet it is again classified, which cases you use what. FR2 used in class 2 division 1, FR3 in class 3, similarly FR4 and FR5. FR5 is used with headgears, FR4 is used in a bimaxillary protrusion or a open bite, where you use only the occlusal rest. So there are 5 types of Frankel based on the case in which you select the skeletal cases. Functional regulator was developed by Frankel, and in 1969 to 73, Perry Robin introduced monoblock, especially in cases with Robin anomalard. He is used monoblock. It is also similar to the activator. And Viggo Anderson with Carl Hoppel. Viggo Anderson and Carl Hoppel, they have developed an activator. Basically, Anderson has given an activator for his daughter initially during the vacation to hold the correction what was achieved. He has used the activator. Now, activator is nothing but it is just a plastic appliance where he has given to hold the corrections what he has achieved with the fixed mechanotherapy. It was called as a biomechanical working retainer. Later it was modified along with Hoppel to the activator what we use nowadays. It is also called as Norwegian appliance because they belong to University of Norway. Clark introduced the twin block appliance, which is used commonly among the most functional appliances, which is patient compliant and used on a frequent basis, is a twin block appliance. And Andrews has introduced the straight wire appliance. Now, if you see here, the Andrews has introduced the straight wire appliance, what we use regularly, whereas Angle has introduced the edgewise appliance, not the straight wire appliance. Edward Hartley Angle has introduced the edgewise appliance, which is modified to pre-adjusted edgewise. That is what we use on a day-to-day basis, is pre-adjusted edgewise, which is a straight wire appliance. This is introduced by Andrews, who has given the 6 keys of occlusion. Okay. Again, a similar question: who has developed the straight wire appliance? That is the pre-adjusted edgewise appliance. Now, Angle has given the edgewise appliance. Now, this was modified as pre-adjusted edgewise. The difference between an edgewise and a pre-adjusted edgewise is, in an edgewise appliance, the bracket does not have any angulation or inclination or any in-out bend. Okay. So, in the arch wire, you have to bend the tip and the torque in the arch wire. So, in the arch wire, you have to do all the bendings in an edgewise appliance. Whereas, in a pre-adjusted edgewise, the bracket itself has got it inbuilt tip and torque, where you can put a straight wire. Straight wire means a plain arch form into a bracket which has got inbuilt tip and torque. So, the features which have to be expressed are already inbuilt in the bracket. So, that is why it is called as pre-adjusted edgewise appliance. So, this was given by Andrews. So, according to Andrews, he has developed this appliance system or a bracket prescription where both tip and torque and in-out. There are 3 types of bends: first order, second order, third order. First order is the in-out bend, second order is the tip, that is your mesiodistal angulation. The third order is your torque, that is the inclination. Inclination is nothing but the labiolingual or buccopalatal inclination. So, that is the third order. So, all these 3 are incorporated depending upon which tooth or which bracket it is into the bracket, either in the face of the bracket or in the base. So, you put a straight wire. So, that is called as pre-adjusted appliance, that is your straight wire appliance given by Andrews. So, it was the first PE appliance developed by Andrews and is called as straight wire appliance in 1976, which is its trademark, and it has become synonymous with your PEA, what we use regularly. He is Andrews and Edward. These are all various fixed appliances which were developed by different people. Angle is credited with E-arch appliance, and then the ribbon arch, later pin and tube, and then the edgewise. The same ribbon arch appliance was modified by Begg, P.R. Begg, that is Percival Raymond Begg, who has given the Begg appliance initially. The Begg appliance, or it is also called as light wire technique or differential force technique. Why it is called as light wire technique? Because Begg has advocated light forces to be applied during the tooth movement. The philosophy of Begg is he used to tip the teeth on a round wire. The wire which was used in Begg is a round wire, whereas in PEA you use both a round and a rectangular wire. In the straight wire, what we use nowadays, we use round wire followed by a rectangular wire, whereas in Begg it is only a plain round wire, where he advocated light forces. Why he advocated light forces is, if you apply heavy force, there is something called as undermining resorption and tooth will not move. So, that is the reason he advocated light wire forces, and at the same time differential force technique. What does differential force mean is, the same force will act at two different places in different ways. For example, if you are giving light forces, only your front teeth will move because they have got a less root surface area. Your anterior 6 teeth will move, whereas the posterior teeth acts as a fixed anchorage. Whereas you give heavy forces, your anterior teeth will not move because of the undermining resorption, and your posterior teeth start moving. That is how he corrected all class 2 division 1 malocclusions. In Begg, the classical philosophy is extraction philosophy. Begg has never advocated any non-extraction. What he used to do is, he used to extract all first 4 bicuspids, that is the first premolars. So, when he has extracted first premolars in a class 2 div 1, initially he used to use very low forces to retract the upper 6 teeth back. Later, he has used more force or a heavy force with a class 2 to move the lower molars forward, where the upper anteriors would have been an anchorage unit. Because of the heavy forces, that teeth would not move because they form a stationary anchorage due to the undermining resorption and the hyalination tissue which is formed. That is why it is called as light wire technique or differential force. That is, the same force is acting in the anterior region in a different manner and the posterior region in a different manner. In the anterior segment, it might move the teeth, whereas posterior is stationary. When the force is increased, the posterior teeth will move, whereas the anterior teeth will be stationary. Okay. That is why it is called as differential force technique. And then Andrews has given pre-adjusted edgewise or straight wire appliance and also the 6 keys of occlusion. Then Cavan-Kurz is the one who has given the lingual appliance. Lingual appliance initially was given by Cavan-Kurz. He is the first one who has to give the edgewise lingual appliance in 1970s. Okay. Then Fujita has given the lingual appliance in Begg. So, the same Begg brackets were bonded lingually, but the successful among is the edgewise lingual appliance only given by Kurz. And the lingual appliance is also called as mushroom appliance, because the arch form what you place in a lingual is not the regular straight arch form. At the region of canine, you give an offset. At the region of canine, you give an offset because you have to maintain the intercanine width, and at the same time you have to maintain the anterior contour. So, you give an offset, that is why it resembles the shape of a mushroom. It is just not a uniform ovoid form or whatever we regularly see in the straight wire. You give an offset at the canine. Which of the following form Jackson's triad? Jackson's triad is nothing but a component of functional efficiency, structural balance and aesthetic harmony. The basic objective of orthodontic treatment is to achieve Jackson's triad, where you accomplish the 3 objectives, that is functional efficiency, because a person has to accomplish all the functions like phonation, mastication, swallowing and respiration. And then there should be a structural balance between the extraoral and the intraoral whenever you see the facial muscles along with the muscles of mastication to the dentition and the skeletal structures. Like whatever we see, the skeletal malocclusions is because of the aberrant muscular forces, the environmental factors which act. So, there should be a balance between the extraoral muscles and the intraoral skeletal and dental structures. Otherwise, if there is an imbalance, they result in the corresponding skeletal and dental malocclusion. And then aesthetic harmony, and most of the time aesthetics is one of the concern for orthodontic treatment. So, functional efficiency, structural balance and aesthetic harmony. And the first book in exclusively written in orthodontics was by Farrer, and later Kingsley also has written the other one, but first one was which was dedicated to orthodontics is by Farrer. And John Nutting Farrer, the title of the book which he has written was Treatise on Irregularities of Teeth and Their Correction. This was the first book, and Farrer was in the duration of 1839 to 1930. Okay. And Martin Dewey was the founder and the first editor of AJO. AJO is nothing but American Journal of Orthodontics, given by or it's an official journal of American Association of Orthodontics, and Dewey was the first editor, and he wrote the book Practical Orthodontics. Treatise on Irregularities of the Teeth is book written by Farrer. The person who is credited with the discovery of tooth movement using thumb or finger pressure is nothing but Celsus. Celsus means we credit to temperature. The same person who says on repeated application or a continuous application of a thumb or a finger will cause some amount of tooth movement. Whenever we discuss in habits, we say thumb sucking causes deleterious effects on dentition and at the same time the skeletal structure. Most of the cases where the patient has thumb sucking habit will be a class 2 division 1 malocclusion. The reason being, when a patient or a child places the thumb, this part of the thumb pushes the premaxilla along with the dentition forward, whereas the nape of the thumb rests on the mandible. When it rests on the mandible, the lower teeth, especially the lower incisors, are either normally placed or normally inclined or retroclined. They are not proclined, only the upper incisors are proclined, okay, because of the thumb. So, it results in a class 2 division 1 malocclusion with an increased overjet and increased proclination of the upper incisor teeth. Okay. In a similar way, when you apply thumb, the tooth movement also occurs correspondingly. So, whenever the tooth movement has to occur or the habit has to express, there are 3 factors: intensity, duration and frequency. These are the 3 things which are essential. If you place the thumb, but if it is not continuous, then hardly it will have any tooth movement. So, at the same time, the duration, frequency and intensity with the magnitude of force, how much you are applying, that is also important to cause the tooth movement. So, continuous application of thumb for a longer period with a reasonable force causes tooth movement, and this was first discovered by Celsus. Celsus in his book described how Roman physicians used finger pressure to move the teeth. Which are the following statements which Angle is credited to, or Angle normally advocates what? Extraction is a must and growth for the growth, or non-extraction should be followed for all cases, extraction of premolar depending on the incisor proclination, or both A and C. Angle is a strong advocate of non-extraction philosophy. Later his students Martin Dewey and Kelvin Case have advocated extraction. Angle was, as I said, his first appliance was E-arch, that is expansion appliance. So, he believes more in expansion rather than extraction. Begg, Dewey and Kelvin Case exactly opposite, they advocated more of extraction. Now, why Angle said non-extraction is, he said you gain space by using expansion. So, you have to expand to gain space. In different methods of gaining spaces, the most commonly followed method is extraction of first molars, but according to Angle it was expansion, because he recommended full complement of teeth. He wanted all the 28 or 32 teeth to be present in the oral cavity. So, he was against the principle of extraction. So, the method of gaining space according to Angle was by expansion. So, non-extraction should be followed for all the cases, that was his dictum. Now, what happened with this non-extraction later was teeth were proclined a lot, and the soft tissue was not matching to the dental tissues. So, if there was imbalance in the soft tissues, ultimately the aesthetics is affected. If the lips are not competent enough, when the teeth are proclined, the lips are incompetent. So, the aesthetics is compromised. So, later Kelvin Case, Tweed, Begg, they all supported extraction depending on the case. It is not that every case you have to do extraction. It depends upon the soft tissue, that is especially your nasolabial angle and also the competency of lips or the lip prominence or the proclination of your upper and lower incisors. Based on that, you decide whether you are doing extraction or non-extraction. So, Angle was a strict follower of non-extraction, whereas Case, Tweed and Begg were advocates of extraction depending on case to case. All of the following are Angle's contribution except one, like as I told earlier, pin and tube, E-arch, edgewise were all contributions of Edward H. Angle. Straight wire is the contribution of Andrews, Larry Andrews. The straight wire appliance or pre-adjusted appliance was introduced by Andrews, and it was in 1970. The same Andrews has given 6 keys of occlusion. Who introduced direct bonding of orthodontic brackets? Now, orthodontic brackets are bonded, and it was first done by Newman. Buonocore has introduced the technique of acid etch, but first direct bonding was done by Newman. One more technique is followed, that is indirect bonding, where we make a tray and the brackets are first placed in the lab setup onto the tray, and then they are formed on a ecopress or any instrument, and then one vacuum made instrument, and then that is transferred onto the patient. That is called as indirect bonding. Now, direct bonding is where you take the bracket and apply the primer and adhesive and place it onto the tooth. That is the direct bonding technique. So, in direct bonding technique, first what you do is you etch the tooth, that is the enamel of the teeth. Now, when you apply the etchant, that is your orthophosphoric acid or 37% phosphoric acid, for at least 15 to 20 seconds, the surface enamel is etched, where you form microporosities. On that microporosities, you apply your bonding agent, first primer followed by your bonding adhesive, which will form resin tags and help in bonding. Okay. So, this is the direct bonding. Especially in cases of lingual orthodontics, you do indirect bonding, where you transfer that with a tray, where like your bleaching tray, where what you use, a similar tray is used. On that, first the brackets are placed on the setup and finally transferred. So, the Buonocore has introduced acid etch technique, whereas Newman has introduced bonding. So, do not confuse, whenever they ask direct bonding, it has to be Newman, whereas the acid etch technique, it is Buonocore. And the concept of lingual orthodontic appliance was first introduced by Cavan Kurz. Kurz has developed the edgewise lingual appliance, and along with Fujita, as I told you earlier, Fujita used the mushroom appliance, and he also tried with the Beck brackets, Fujita. So, Cavan Kurz was the first who has used the edgewise lingual appliance. Now, the lingual appliance which is used on a routine basis is more of a edgewise appliance, and that which was developed by Fujita was a mushroom appliance, where they have got a canine offset in relation to the canine. Orthodontics, which is mostly related to the mixed dentition period, is nothing but your interceptive orthodontics. Orthodontics has got 4 sub branches, that is preventive, interceptive, corrective and surgical. Preventive is in the initial stages, where you try to prevent the malocclusion from setting in. Interceptive is during the mixed dentition, where any habits or any problems which start the malocclusion. When there is the moment you see any malocclusion, initially you try to intercept. For example, if you see a crossbite, especially an anterior crossbite in the age of 8 or 9 years, when you see an anterior crossbite, the moment you see an anterior crossbite, you have to correct it or you have to intercept. The reason being, it will not allow the forward growth or the sagittal growth of the maxilla, because it will act as a lock and it will prevent the maxilla from growing. So, simply if there is an adequate space, you give a appliance with Z spring and a posterior bite plane, it will open the bite and the tooth will move forward. Once the anterior crossbite is corrected, then the maxilla and mandible will grow at their normal pace. But if there is an anterior crossbite and you have not corrected that, you have left, then what will happen? Slowly it might develop into a skeletal malocclusion, where it will restrict the growth of maxilla, whereas the mandible will grow at its normal pace. So, if you intercept it at an early age, then that problem will be corrected and you will prevent a skeletal malocclusion from occurring. And at the same time, transverse problem, like you see some amount of transverse discrepancy or constriction of maxilla, you have to expand. So, these are the problems what you have to tackle in interceptive orthodontics, especially in the mixed dentition. So, in mixed dentition, most commonly what we correct is your cross bites in the anterior plane, posterior plane and your transverse problems also. And corrective orthodontics is nothing but your routine fixed orthodontics. What you do in your fixed orthodontics is your corrective orthodontics, which can be done after the age of approximately 13 or 14, once all complement of your teeth are erupted, that is later mixed dentition to the permanent dentition. So, preventive orthodontics is roughly in your primary dentition and early mixed dentition. Interceptive orthodontics is in your mixed dentition, whereas corrective orthodontics is in the late mixed dentition to permanent dentition, and surgical orthodontics absolutely it is only in the permanent dentition. There are only few cases where you do distraction osteogenesis at a early age, DO, distraction osteogenesis, where there is severe magnitude of skeletal discrepancy, especially in craniofacial syndromes. Okay. Whereas surgical orthodontics is outrightly indicated only after the age of 18 plus, 18 or 19 plus. Okay. Why you have to do surgical orthodontics only after 19 or 20? The reason being you have to express, you have to allow the growth to express fully. Now, that will happen only till after the age of 18 or 20, depending on whether it is a male or female. Who among the following developed the first orthodontic appliance? As I told earlier, it is Perry Foucault, that is the Bandeletti appliance or the expansion appliance. Okay. Foucault, the father of modern dentistry, developed the first orthodontic appliance, and as I told earlier, Kingsley used first the extraoral force for extraoral anchorage in the form of headgear. Norman Kingsley is father of orthodontics, and he used this orthopedic force to correct the protruding tooth and also as extraoral anchorage. Okay. And Angell has used. Then Emerson C. Angell. Angell is different from Angell. He is father of expansion. Rapid maxillary expansion was advocated by Emerson C. Angell, whereas the Bunon was the first to use the term orthopedic appliances, and Magill used to band the teeth. Magill is credited with banding the teeth for active tooth movement. Foucault is the person who has created the first orthodontic appliance, that is Bandeletti. Then Angell is father of rapid maxillary expansion, or is credited with expansion. Who is the father of modern orthodontics is Edward Hartley Angell. Father of orthodontics is Norman William Kingsley. Modern orthodontics is Edward H. Angell. Perry Foucault is father of dentistry. Baker is credited with Baker's anchorage, that is intermaxillary anchorage, that is your class 2 or class 3 elastics. Now, when you are using your class 2 elastics, it is from your lower molar to the upper anteriors, that is your canine. So, it is an intermaxillary anchorage, not intramaxillary. Intramaxillary is within the arch, that is your class 1 elastic. When you want to pull the upper anteriors back, you use your upper posterior teeth as an anchorage and pull your upper anteriors back in all your procline cases. So, that is your class 1 anchorage or intramaxillary anchorage. The other one is class 2 or intermaxillary anchorage, that is your Baker's anchorage, either class 2 elastics or class 3 also. Class 3 you apply from the upper molars or upper posterior teeth to the lower anterior teeth. Okay. In Kelvin case, he has advocated extraction in most of the cases, disciple of Angell, and Edward Hartley Angell advocated most of the non-extraction cases, and he said the method of gaining space was by using expansion rather than extraction. So, he is the father of modern orthodontics. His contributions were numerous into the specialty of orthodontics. His classification of malocclusion was also given by him. Okay. What we commonly use when we say any case, we diagnose as Angell's class 1, class 2 or class 3. So, the classification then followed by various appliances, innumerable appliances like expansion arch, ribbon arch, pin and tube and edgewise appliance. And he has first made orthodontics as a separate specialty in dentistry, the first specialty in dentistry, and he believed more in arch expansion rather than extraction. As I told earlier, Baker was credited with Baker's anchorage, which used intermaxillary elastics or class 2 elastics, and Kelvin case used these intermaxillary elastics in his extraction cases to move the teeth back. Cephalostapt was developed by Broadbent and Hofroth. So, Broadbent is credited with development of cephalostapt, and Jork has done various longitudinal studies using cephalometry. Cephalometry is a method to study growth, like you take series of cephalograms at an interval of 6 months, where small implants were placed in that, and then that was studied by Jork, which will deal in growth and development. Bunocore is with acid etch, and then Begg is credited to the Begg appliance or light wire appliance. Broadbent and Hofrath independently developed the cephalostat or the cephalogram what we take, and Buonocore is credited with acid-etch technique. Raymond Begg, Percival Raymond Begg of Australia is credited with the light wire appliance or Begg appliance, where you use the differential force which I have explained earlier, and Jork for his longitudinal implant studies using cephalograms. A series of cephalograms at different ages were taken and later they were superimposed, and they have placed small mini implants there, and once they are superimposed, you know like how the growth occurs or the growth changes takes place in all the three planes, that is the sagittal, transverse and vertical plane. So, that is Jork's contribution to orthodontics. And 6 keys to normal occlusion was given by none other than Andrews, who has given the straight wire appliance. Straight wire appliance was credited to Andrews. So, he has given the 6 keys to normal occlusion. To name the 6 keys, it is nothing but the molar interarch relationship, the first one. The second one is the mesiodistal crown angulation, that is nothing but your tip. Mesiodistal crown angulation is nothing but the tip, and then the labiolingual crown inclination, labiolingual or the buccopalatal crown inclination, it is the torque, and then the absence of rotations, tight contacts and curve of spee. Curve of spee should be ideally be flat or 0 to 0.5 mm. So, these are the 6 keys which have to be followed to achieve a near normal occlusion after the end of the treatment. In addition to these 6 keys, there is one more key which was added later. It is the 7th key. It is nothing but tooth material. It is nothing but the tooth material or tooth size discrepancy. That is the 7th key. Or it is otherwise called as your Bolton's ratio. When we do your Bolton's ratio, you measure the mesiodistal width of the 12 teeth in the upper and in the lower, and also the 6 front teeth. The reason is you are measuring the tooth material and to know the interarch tooth material discrepancy, whether it is excess in the upper or lower, whether it is in the anterior part or overall. So, the purpose of doing Bolton's analysis is to find out the tooth material discrepancy and in which arch it is and in which part of the arch it is, whether it is oral or anterior. So, the 7th key which is considered in latest terms is nothing but your tooth material or tooth size discrepancy or Bolton's ratio. Now, this was given as the 7th key by Bennett and McLaughlin. That is, when we say straight wire appliance, we say 2 bracket prescriptions, that is MBT or Roth. MBT stands for McLaughlin, M stands for McLaughlin, B stands for Bennett, T stands for Trevisi. So, MBT or McLaughlin Bennett were credited to giving the 7th key of occlusion, that is tooth size discrepancy or tooth Bolton's ratio. Okay. The straight wire appliance what we use latest is the MBT bracket prescription, the other one is Roth. Now, MBT and Roth are commonly used, they are just the prescriptions in your straight wire appliance, that is the PEA or edgewise appliance. So, the 7th key is credited to, because they can ask a question like 7th key is credited to, then McLaughlin Bennett. McLaughlin is from USA, Bennett is from UK, that is London. So, they on their names it is named as MBT. M stands for McLaughlin, B stands for Bennett and T for Trevisi. Trevisi is from Brazil. With this we complete the first session, we will then go to the next chapter.